Out here in the Nevada desert, where the land cracks under the weight of time, men once dared to hold back a river. The Hoover Dam didn't just change the landscape, it changed history. It was the muscle and ambition poured into concrete. A monument not to war, but to work. Behind it lies Lake Mead, still and wide, a man-made sea carved from the Colorado River. And just down the road, the desert remembers, where rusted trucks sit frozen in time, and a quiet ghost town waits to be discovered by you. But this isn't just any sidewalk. We're nearly 900 feet in the air, walking the edge of one of the tallest bridges in the country. For a while, all you see is rock. The canyon wall blocks the view, but step by step the horizon opens, and then just like that, there it is, the Hoover Dam, stretched across the canyon like it was always part of the land. From this height, the scale of it finally all settles in. The silence, the drop, the way the wind carries sound across the open air. This is the Mike O'Callahan Pat Tillman Memorial Bridge, finished in 2010. Nearly 2,000 feet long, linking Arizona and Nevada. It's one of the largest and longest concrete arch bridges in the Western Hemisphere, and more than just a road, it's a symbol. If you're heading out from Las Vegas, the Hoover Dam is just 36 miles down the road, or about 74 if you're coming from Kingman, Arizona. You'll take exit 2 on the Nevada side of US 93 to reach the dam overlook. It's an easy detour and one worth making. Before this span, Highway 93 wound its way across the top of the Hoover Dam. A beautiful drive, sure, but a slow and dangerous one. People talked about a bypass for decades, but it took 9/11 to turn it into action. After 9/11, everything changed. The dam became a high-profile target. Truck traffic was banned, security was tightened, and suddenly this bridge became critical, not just for traffic, but for protection. And then there are the names. Mike O'Callahan, a Korean War veteran who lost a leg in combat, then came home and served as the governor of Nevada, a teacher, a leader. Pat Tillman, an NFL player who walked away from a multi-million-dollar contract to serve his country after 9/11, became an Army Ranger and was killed in Afghanistan. 2 soldiers, 2 lives, both honored here for their service on the battlefield and their legacy beyond it. As you walk this span, you'll pass a copper plaque honoring the men and women who built it. You'll feel the wind, hear the traffic come past, and maybe if you stop a moment, you'll hear something deeper. And all the while, the cars keep rolling by, folks heading to work in Vegas or traveling, life moving forward across a bridge built to remember. Look through the metal railings, just poles and open airs, and the dam curves into view below. That's when it hits you. How much was built here and how much was sacrificed. This isn't just a bridge across the canyon. It's a reminder of who we are and who we choose to honor. From up here on the bridge, you get the full view. The Hoover Dam curves across the Black Canyon like it was poured straight into the rock. It's the best look you'll get from the ground, and it still takes a second to sink in. That's more than 700 feet of concrete, holding back the Colorado River. A river that once flooded farms, washed out towns, and ran dry when folks needed it most. The idea of taming it, well, it sounds like madness to some. But by the early 1930s, the country didn't just need water and power, it needed hope. In the middle of the Great Depression, the federal government approved one of the largest public works projects in American history. They called it the Boulder Canyon Project, and it would lead to the creation of what we now call the Hoover Dam. Beginning construction in 1931 of March, over the next 5 years, more than 21,000 men would work on the dam, though only about 5,000 at any one time. They came from across the country, most with little more than a suitcase and desperation in their eyes. The work was brutal. Temperatures regularly soared above 110 degrees. They drilled and blasted through the canyon walls to build diversion tunnels, rerouting the Colorado River so they could build on dry ground. They poured massive concrete blocks day and night, cooling them with coils of chilled water so they wouldn't crack from the heat. And they did it without the kind of safety rules we'd expect today. Workers fell, some were crushed by equipment, others died from heat stroke, carbon monoxide, or pneumonia brought on by the cramped living conditions. The official death toll was 96 men, but many believe the real number was much higher. At the same time, the government built a company town to house the workers and their families, Boulder City, Nevada. It had no gambling, no alcohol, and a 10 p.m. curfew. But it was clean, safe, and organized, a rare thing during the Depression. It was a place for folks to rebuild their lives while they built the dam. The project finished ahead of schedule and under budget, a near miracle at the time. By March of 1936, the dam was complete, rising 726 feet high and 1,244 feet across. Lake Mead, the reservoir behind it, became the largest in the United States. Those 4 towers you see rising out of the lake, those are the intake towers. Nearly 400 feet tall, they pull water down into the dam's massive turbines. That spinning force generates electricity for over 1 million people across Nevada, Arizona, and California. And then there's the name. At first they called it Boulder Dam after the original site proposal, but in 1947 Congress restored the name Hoover Dam to honor President Herbert Hoover, who helped make the project possible during his time as the Secretary of Commerce. We head down now through the security checkpoint and along the narrow road that hugs the canyon wall. And when you drive across the top of the dam, it feels tight, almost like you're threading a needle between 2 walls of stone and history. You stop at the overlook of the Arizona side and take it all in, then head back the same way. It's a dead end, but nobody seems to mind. Down here up close, you see the details. The Art Deco architecture, the bronze statues, the inlaid stone that still shines after nearly 90 years. This wasn't just a piece of infrastructure. It was a symbol that even in hard times, Americans could build something that would last. Today, the Hoover Dam still does what it was built to do: control the river, power the Southwest, and remind us what's possible when people pull together and get the job done. You stand here between the water and the rock, and you can feel it. The weight of it, the work of it, and the country. Earlier in the day, before we ever stood on the bridge or looked down at Hoover Dam, we took the long way in. Out of Las Vegas, we followed Lake Mead Parkway, past the edge of town, into the quiet rhythm of Lakeshore Road. It's not the fast route, it's not the road most tourists takes, but it's the one where the desert starts to open up and the noise of the city falls behind you. The land here moves slow, rolling hills, scattered scrub, and the lake. Always near, never loud. You'll catch glimpses of it in between the ridge lines that stretch the water that shouldn't even exist out here. But it does. This is Lake Mead, the reservoir formed by the Hoover Dam. Over 100 miles long, the largest in the United States. And out here along the 2-lane road, it doesn't feel like infrastructure. It feels like memory. Quiet, heavy, holding more than just water. We pulled off a few times just to stop. The kind of stops where you don't say much, you just stand there, looking, breathing, letting the place speak. The Hoover Dam is out there somewhere, but you don't see it from here. It stays tucked behind the canyon walls, hidden until you're practically on top of it. Still, as you follow the curve of the lake, you start to feel it, the weight, the presence, the change in the land. Something big is just beyond the bend. This whole stretch is a part of the Lake Mead National Recreation Area, the first recreation area of its kind in the United States. Over 1 million acres of rock and shoreline managed by the National Park Service. It's a place for hiking, fishing, boating, or just driving with the windows down. The clouds had rolled in by the time we made this drive. Not stormy clouds, just enough to soften the light. Even without full color, the land still held its shape. Jagged rocks, distinctive ridges, black volcanic edges pushing up through the dust. Past a helicopter flying low over the lake, it dipped a bucket into the water, likely heading out to fight a wildfire further in the hills. Small, quiet reminder that this reservoir isn't just for postcards. It's a working lake, a lifeline, a tool that still gets used when the desert burns. A few turns later, the lake opens up again, and there it was, a sailboat, just sitting still in the water, not drifting fast, not cutting across the lake, just waiting. No wake, no sound, just a white sail against the still blue. Behind it, the mountains stacked in the horizon like layers of time. It didn't feel like scenery. It felt like a moment. One of those quiet little scenes you don't expect, but never forget. I've added a few stills into this part of the story, shots we took while pulled over, looking out. Sometimes the camera still can't quite capture what you feel when you're there, so we brought a little motion to the stillness. This drive didn't end at the lake, it ended at the dam, but it's still here, and where the desert breeze and the water waits, most folks never take this road. They head straight to the dam on the main highway, but for us it was part of the journey, a quieter chapter before the concrete cables. Now with that stretch behind us and the Colorado River below, we're heading down another road. Now I'm just going to let the music play for a little bit. Just enjoy the scenery as you drive around Lake Mead. This one cuts deeper into the hills where things get older, rustier, and just a little bit strange. Next stop, a ghost town, tucked into the desert, not far from Las Vegas or the Hoover Dam, a place where travelers pass without ever knowing it's there. But if you follow the old road long enough, you'll find it. Just 30 miles past the Hoover Dam, the road narrows. The mountains press in a little closer, and the air changes. It's quieter out here. If you're not looking for Nelson, you just might miss it. There's no gas station or neon sign to call you in. Just a dusty road and what looks like mirage made of rust and memories. But as you roll in, something feels different. This isn't your average ghost town. Sure, the buildings are weathered, The desert's been hard on the wood and tin, but someone's been looking after this place. It's not abandoned, it's preserved. Nelson was once one of Nevada's wildest mining camps. The Tekatika mine up the hill produced millions in gold, silver, and copper, but it's also a fair share of trouble. The law didn't reach far into this canyon, and back in the 1800s, arguments were often settled at gunpoint. Today, the mine's quiet, but the stories are still here, in the hills, in the air, and in the metal. Scattered all around the property are cars and trucks from another era. Over 100 of them. They say from 1920 sedans to 1950 workhorses. Some nearly buried in the sand, others parked like someone stepped away for a smoke break. One old Ford truck leans in the wind with no windshield, the hood cracked open. Engine's long gone, but the frame's still solid. You can almost picture a rancher rolling into town with hay in the bed and a dog in the passenger seat. It's a red fire truck sitting in the sun. Ladders faded, chrome dulled by the years. It's easy to imagine it roaring down the dirt road back when it still has some shine. Other trucks are bent and broken. Doors open, seats torn. But out here, they're not junk. A bus turned into somebody's home. As we explore inside, we open the door into another world. Wonder what we see. Bus like I've seen never before, but a living reminder of what people and the places that have been here. Some vehicles were brought here for movies. You might have seen them in 3,000 Miles to Graceland or the island. Hollywood may have moved on, but the props stayed behind. Now they rest in the sun like forgotten stars. It's a little graveyard of tail fins and bullet holes where every dent's got a story. The trucks, I'm gonna walk around. Old gas station. Stepping back in time. Sinclair Opaline. Pretty cool. Never quite knew what would find out here. There's always a mystery. I'm walking through the desert and I find a plane, a crashed plane in the middle of the desert. What stories this could tell. But it's beautiful in its own way too. Something about it, not sure what, but even though it's destroyed and only parts are left, there's a beauty to it. I don't know. the desert, the Nevada desert. This place is full of history. A lot like the Hoover Dam during the Great Depression. I wonder when I see some of the stuff, like right here, this plane, like who flew it? Where did it come from? What's its story? That's what I love about the road. You never know where it'll lead you. Sometimes the road trips, we first start off at the Hoover Dam, then we cruise around a beautiful lake, and now we explore a ghost town full of airplanes, old cars, trucks, buildings, and history. This old Texaco sign right there. Walking around looking at the cool buildings, and a car and truck everywhere. Wow. This is one part of the journey that I kind of wanted to share, because when I talk to people, a lot of people know about the Hoover Dam. They know about Pat Tillman's Bridge and even Lake Mead. But like many things that are nearby, many people do not know about the ghost town that's right in the neighborhood. And this is one of the things that I wanted to share with you. Look at that COE right there, it's beautiful. And you look in the backdrop over there, that's a gold mining equipment that they used for processing. Old truck. You know, I wonder, it's built in the 30s. Do you think some of these were owned by people who built the Hoover Dam? Or I guess it would be the Boulder Dam back then? Kind of makes you think and wonder, huh? Walking around these old cars, these old trucks. Who drove them? Who were they? What's their story? Because this is the story of America. Looking around, seeing the history for yourself and stepping back in time, seeing the struggles and the accomplishments. I mean, these people built a dam on a raging river, 700 foot tall. It's crazy when you think about it. And here, this was gold mine. I believe even some of the stuff, even the Spanish from back in the day were here. Very rough town, but very cool. And some of the cars, you know, the trucks, they kind of look like went through a war zone. Occasionally something's, a window's shattered. These overall aren't in too bad a shape. But you never know. Maybe it was in a movie. Maybe it just ended here. And around the edges of the town, you'll find old fencing, little barbed wire. You see old gas pumps with cracked glass, handmade signs, gas pump signs, or gas and oil. Just remind you of how things used to be. An old military truck with a Coca-Cola sign behind it and another gas pump. This isn't just a place you pass through. Nelson holds you and invites you to slow down. look closer, and wonder how these vehicles made it here, why they stayed, and the story. The history. I mean, the barns, the buildings are just full of antiques and oddities, mannequins, hats, old safes, oil cans, vintage tools. And I bet you there's even bits of Route 66 here, because that's just the kind of place this was back in the day. Here's the road as you see it as we enter. You don't just walk through Nelson, you drift through it. You feel it, step by step, story by story, rusted wheel, a cracked windshield. It's a reminder that everything has to be shiny to have value. Some things are beautiful because they lasted, because they've been through it and they're still here. Nelson may be called a ghost town, but it's alive in its own way. Sometimes with crowds, sometimes without. But it has a soul. And if you listen closely, you might hear the rattle of an old engine that hasn't run in 70 years. Or maybe that's just the wind brushing past a place that refuses to be forgotten.